Hey, hey, hey. 2 secs. Okay, just filling up me water. Okay, so boy, have I fallen down a rabbit hole today. It's been interesting. So I kind of thought I had everything kind of planned out with what I was gonna kind of talk about. And then just things went in a direction I was not expecting. So here we are. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, let's start off with Citizen Roulette, and welcome to episode 42. This is crazy. Citizen Roulette, Davos being back like a bad rash, the alien card, and then stopping the algorithm from rewriting your past is what we will finish on. Oh, chat on. There we go. Okay, so you may or may not have heard. Oh, wait a minute. This is where we go wrong. Trying to make it, there we go. I'm trying to make it smaller. Okay, so you may or may not have heard that the United Kingdom. So who is it? Shabina Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has revoked the citizenship of a previous police officer called Mark Bullen. It was actually done in October 2025, but I only kind of found out about it like maybe a few days, maybe last week sometime, which obviously got me very excited because he's a British citizen and they revoked it. And they revoked it because he moved into Russia in 2014, and he works now on social media for the Zenit St. Petersburg Football Club. So he works like social media football club, and they've revoked his citizenship because he now is a Russian citizen. So I got very excited because I was thinking about all of the not so friendly individuals in our country who potentially could be, de-citizened. So we do have to be very careful because this was mentioned in the Committee of 300 and also mentioned with regards to outlaws, people being de-citizened. And I was quite apprehensive about them doing it to Shabina Mahmood, Shabina Begum even, because it sets a quite dangerous precedence. Bearing in mind we're the target, right? We're the target for all of this dystopian destruction. We have to be very careful about the things that we push and the things that we get excited about because they will turn it back on us, and block us from any opportunity and chance of kind of putting it back on them. So basically, so he was detained in 2024 under the Terrorism Act. So that'll be the ports and borders stop. So no, you don't even need to have any kind of suspicion about, and like anybody can be stopped. Like that's, and we spoke about this talking about the Scottish Korean and Tommy Robinson and how I don't try and leave the country because I'm not stupid. However, is my granddad's 90th birthday this year, and he lives in the Isle of Man. And so my dad kind of like, dropped me a message going, "Oh, we're all going over. We'd love you to come." And I'm like, "Oh," how do you say to him? Well, I'm pretty sure might get stopped at the airport. Hopefully, I'm still like, I'm not like big enough influential to kind of cause harm. Maybe I can get in and out of the country without being detained. If it is what it is, you just comply. You just hand over your devices and you're away, right? So the sensible thing to do is to not have your, smartphone with you. You just have like a dodgy 402 Nokia with a snake phone or something, right? So it enables you to kind of just hand everything over and be like, "Nothing on there, love." And then obviously they dig into who you are, and then they decide, "Oh no, now we're going to kind of arrest you for terrorism because you're proud of your nation." Okay, so basically I dug into, kinda how it went about because I think it's gonna be helpful. So first up, we need to kinda know what kinda legislation enabled this to happen. So all of this enables us to counter the narrative that we can't do anything about these illegals who are raping people because, they're stuck here. We can't de-citizen people. Like, they're literally doing it all the time. 29 people a year are de-citizened. So, the primary law. Oh, Edwin. Oh, that sucks. I mean, I don't actually like traveling, so it's never bothered me, but obviously potentially not. I mean, I'll go. I will risk it for a biscuit, as they say. Let's see what happens. I mean, it'll be another notch on my belt, the same as getting accosted by a police officer in Aldi when, during COVID for refusing to wear a mask. We'll see. It'll be like, hey, here we go. But I can't be kind of denied entry because I'm only a citizen here, which was my concern, right? Um, so, Section 40 of the British Nationality Act 1981. This allows the Home Secretary to deprive a person of British citizenship if it's conducive to the public good, i.e., for national security, counter-terrorism, or serious organised crime reasons. So, with a lot of the Albanian criminals, with the Egyptian we spoke about, like he should be decitizened because he's not actually a British citizen anyway, right? It was his mum who just happened to be here, happened to be born here while her mum and dad were here studying, right? So she just kind of passed the citizenship on. There's legit no reason for him to be in this country. Yes, his son's here and his wife, but they're Egyptian. They're all Egyptian. His sisters are Egyptian, his mum's Egyptian, his mum lives in Egypt, right? There's no reason for him to hold a British citizenship. Like, they should just strip it, right? But dangerous for national security and counter-terrorism. Like, he falls into that 100%. Or the citizenship was obtained through fraud, false representation, or concealment of material facts. So loads of people who are jumping on a boat who are throwing their passports in the sea and are coming from places such as such as Pakistan, which is not a war. It's not at war. You can't be fleeing. You can't be, and none of them can be refugees, right? So it literally says, with regards to being a refugee, because it's an official definition, that you stop in the first safe country. Like, we're a fucking island, miles and miles and miles away from all of these places. They have to pass through safe countries to get here, which means they null and void the terminology of being a refugee. But obviously, like, that's not something that anybody kind of uses, right? Because we don't do logic. I've just realised that my sign's backwards. What's that all about? There we go. I don't know what it was saying. So nobody kind of mentions the fact that they are by definition not refugees because they pass through other safe countries first. They must only be economic illegals. They're not irregular migrants, they're illegal migrants because they give up the right to be a refugee when they kind of like jump through multiple safe countries. So a key safeguard is that deprivation cannot render somebody stateless. So it typically applies to those with dual nationality or eligibility for another citizenship, right? And I think this is really important. And I kind of didn't realize kind of some of the things with regards to eligibility. So I've mentioned before, I'm an English-Irish mongrel mix, right? So there's Southern Ireland Irish on my mum's side. So her mum was Irish. And then my dad's side is like English and in the Doomsday Book, right? So like And, you know, this is why I always just say, well, like, how English do you have to be for Steve Laws to not want to deport you? Because he's 2% Irish, right? So technically he's not English either. But nobody on the ethno-nationalism side will give anybody kind of any percentages. And the reason why I believe they won't give anybody percentages is because a huge portion of the country won't actually be able to stay. A huge portion of their fan base are about to find out that they're not English enough, and probably only the elite sickos are the people who are allowed to stay because they've been inbreeding for centuries, right? So I would much rather somebody who kind of escaped from legit escaped from a terrible country, came here and integrated and worked hard and adopted British values. I would prefer they stay than a psychopath who wants to destroy me just because they happen to have been planning to destroy us for centuries. So anyway, so eligibility for another citizenship, which means pretty much a lot of the places, if you have that ethnicity and you have that heritage, is you can usually apply for citizenship kind of following your heritage. And that's what happened with Shamima Begum. That's why she was decitizened. Even though she was born in England, she was a British citizen by birth. Her parents were Bangladeshi, which meant that she had automatic right to Bangladeshi citizenship. And they decitizened her in 2019, and she had an automatic right to citizenship until she was 21. And then after 21 years of age, she has to then apply. And she didn't apply. So now she's technically decitizen. So this is how the European Court of Human Rights are now saying that we've overstepped the mark because she's effectively decitizened, right? Bangladesh wouldn't accept her. Or we kind of stripped her of her rights. So she's kind of living in limbo. And our laws say that you can't do it if it's going to put somebody in limbo. Bearing in mind when we did it, she wasn't. So I would argue that she was probably advised not to approach Bangladesh, because if she did, then she has no comeback, right? So she purposely, I would argue, didn't just kind of, all she had to do was fill in the form, right? Fill in the form for automatic citizenship. However, it's not a guaranteed right. Other countries can refuse to make you a citizen, even if you're born there, right? So this is what is so ludicrous. If I am born, like, it's just like hypothetical. If I was born to two Irish parents here in England, say I wasn't born, I was born in Scotland, but say I was born in England to two Irish parents, and could be Irish citizen, but I just haven't applied for it yet. And then I go away and become like an ISIS bride. The United Kingdom say, we don't want you back. And then Ireland say, well, we don't want you either, right? Like, that happens. Other countries can decide, we are going to not take you, despite the fact that you actually have like a long lineage to, so you're technically far more, you know, ethnically attached to this land. You're like, your history's here. We're not going to take you. But the UK is not allowed to get rid of the people who were trying to kill us, even though they are only British citizens, because the Labour Party's been handing British passports out like fucking the child catcher hands out sweets, right? That's literally how they're being handed out. So it is completely batshit and complete bollocks. So everyone's right. So everybody's blaming Labour. When you start looking into this stuff, I mean, okay, so we can blame Labour, but Tony Blair Labour, he's the one who kind of put all this in motion. We're going to talk about that in a bit when we go into Davos. But a lot of the stuff we're seeing now was signed officially into kind of ramping up phase by David Cameron in 2015, 2016. And a lot of the legislation that the Labour Party are using to carry out the complete destruction of our lives, all went on the books before Labour got in power. So the Nationality and Borders Act 2022 allows deprivation without prior notice in certain cases. So notifying the person, if like notifying the person risks national security or if they're abroad, and the deprivation of citizen orders, which is the 2015 updated version, delays the restoration of citizenship during government appeals, even if an initial appeal succeeds. The ensures the person deemed a risk doesn't regain citizenship until all appeals are exhausted. So that legislation is the one that's kind of being used at the moment to stop Shamima regaining citizenship, despite the fact that, I mean, she lost her appeals, but people like her kind of being citizened while the court process is ongoing. So if they've committed crimes, absolutely can be deported. So pretty much every single person who is a foreign national who's come to the UK and committed a crime can be deported if they have a sentence over 12 months as per the Borders Act 2007. But also they can be decitizened as per the British, what do I call it? Nationality Act 1981. So those legislations are on the books. So they've committed a crime, which means they have limited rights under the Human Rights Act. And this is the thing that everybody seems to forget, right? So once you commit a crime, you're actually not entitled to a lot of the things that you get as I mean, obviously we're not going to torture you, right? That's a it never happens type of right. But all of the others can pretty much be swept away, especially with regards to national security. So all of the people who claim, you know, my right to family life, that's not one of the rules. That's not one of the rights that is like rock solid in stone. That's one of the ones that they can say, well, actually, do you know what? National security it is more. So no. They're just choosing not to. It's really important we remember they're choosing not to deport these people. They're choosing not to decitizen these people, and they're using the Human Rights Act as the reason so that we will keep wanting to get rid of it. Now, don't get me wrong, it does need to be applied properly. It does need to not be skewed in favor of those trying to mass murder us, but that's the lawyers and the judicial system. That's not the Human Rights Act that's doing that. So, 10 to 20 people are stripped of British citizenship a year. And that should be far more, right? 43,000 jihadis on the terrorism watch list. Now, just jihad specifically, vast majority of those will have dual nationality, right? They shouldn't be in the country. Now, if they're on the watch list, it doesn't necessarily mean they have committed a crime, right? But the jihadis in prison that have overtaken the prisons, that are now kind of running the prisons, they have committed a crime because they're committed and being convicted. They should not be in our prisons. They should be decitizened and they should be deported. Like, why should we foot the bill for foreign nationals committing crimes? And it's tough to the other countries. Like, but they should be dumping our criminals back, right? That we should have a national criminal exchange program. Forget student exchange program. It should be a criminal exchange program, right? If you go commit a crime in another country, that's it. You're instantly deported back to your country where you face the sentence or ramifications, right? If every fucking illegal realized that if they get caught raping kids, they're going to get murdered, which is why they leave their country, right? Because they are under threat of life, because they're doing disgusting, despicable things. But obviously in other countries it's okay, but their laws say it's not okay because they have to comply with all of the human rights shit, and they just stick it on the books, but it doesn't make any difference. But if they've now been convicted of this thing, right, that They're not gonna come. What's the point in coming to the UK if you're just gonna get deported and murdered anyway from and I don't agree with murder, state sanctioned or otherwise. I'm just saying, like, this is why they do it because they get let off. They get let away. So I kind of said, well, I don't understand why we're not DNA testing people, testing their teeth. We do it on mummies. I wasn't aware there was actually a pilot in 2009 to do that, right? Because people come in to the country and they launch their fucking passports and papers into the sea, and then they claim that they're like 14 and they're clearly like in their 30s. They claim they're 14, so they get put in schools right near our vulnerable girls. So it was called the Human Provenance Pilot Project, using mitochondrial and ancestry markers, right? And it got shut down because it was racist. Because just because somebody has foreign DNA, it doesn't automatically mean they're foreign. But I would say talking to somebody is a good indication because, you know, if you can't speak English, then I would hazard a guess you weren't born here, right? At all. You'd hope that somebody born here would be able to speak English. So just talking to somebody, I think, is like the first indication. And it is correct that, you know, their parents might have moved to somewhere else. Fine. But what language are they speaking? We can do isotope analysis from hair and nails to kind of guess, right, where they were, like, most recently. If we can tell how a 3,000, 4,000-year-old dead mummy, like, where they moved by kind of, like, testing their teeth and their hair, then we can do it to the boat jumpers. And I don't care that somebody's telling me it breaches their human rights. I don't care. Because they're breaching our collective human rights by being here unlawfully. And yes, some people may have been trafficked. We can have a conversation. I'm not saying we can have a conversation about how somebody got here, why they got here, how, you know, who's trafficked them, all of those things. Does somebody have a legitimate claim? I mean, obviously not as a refugee because we're an island, right? Again, we should have like 0 refugees. Like legit, like we should be refugee free. Because they have to come through everywhere else first to get here. Like, there is no way you go from Africa or the Middle East, like, on a dinghy, right? Because they're not coming on freaking, like, trawlers or, like, cruise ships. They're coming on dinghies. There's no way you can get a dinghy from the Middle East or Africa to the British Isles. Which means they have to come through somewhere else. So I think we bring back the Human Provenance Project. I think we reinstate it, and we go, I don't give a shit about your human rights. Look at how many of your bedfellows are destroying the human rights of all the little girls that you're raping. Like, I'm gonna put our country's natives ahead of other countries' natives, right? If you want to be like the first, you know, at the top of a government's agenda, that's fine. You have a government, you have a country. Like, we have a government, we have a country. We deserve the same respect to feel safe in our own country. Like, I might be able to go to Ireland. I don't know. They probably definitely won't have me. But I don't even know whether I'm Irish enough to be an Irish citizen, right? It's like not my mom, it was my grandmother. And I'm pretty sure she was born on the boat, right? So I mean, I've got to live in the middle of the sea. Like, gosh, and she was, like, 1 of 15. Like, back in the day, they really, like, jeepers. Um, so so sh w the reason why this is even more back in the news, it is just water in my fancy plastic wine glass. Okay, so the reason why it's more back in the news is because Eva Vlar Vladinga Broek, Vlad a 29-year-old, I'm just gonna let's skip over the name butchery. 29-year-old Dutch right-wing political commentator, activist, and influencer. Anti-immigrant views, promoting theories like the Great Replacement. I know I couldn't be asked to correct him. The Great Replacement is not a theory, it's like an actual UN document stating that we must remove the borders and replace the kind of white Western dominance, which I just think is hilarious because the world population is not white and westernized, right? The teeny tiny West might be white and westernized or were white and westernized, but the rest of the fucking world, which is a big old place, really isn't, right? So she was at the kind of freedom rally. She criticized Keir Starmer, called him an evil and despicable. So basically, the Home Office have cancelled her electronic travel authorization, so an ETA, and that happened on the 13th of January, which is a pre-approval system, allows visa-exempt nationals, so EU citizens, to visit the UK without having a full visa. So she got a kind of like a message, an email saying, your UK ETA has been cancelled from the 13th of January 26. It means you cannot travel to the UK without a visa, right? So this is really important. Everybody's saying she's been banned, she can't come in. That's not what it says, is you're not pre-approved. She could apply for a visa. She probably won't be accepted, but at the moment, she just isn't pre-approved. So she hasn't been banned. She's just not pre-approved. I think it's really important that we kind of pay attention to the facts at hand. That's a fact. She hasn't been banned. She just had her ETA stopped. And what they've said is because your presence in the UK is not considered to be conducive to the public good. Now, if they use that phrasing, what they are suggesting is that she is so one, she can have it can happen without prior notice, no appeal, and hers says that she can't appeal, but that's fine because she can still apply for a visa. I don't know whether she will or she won't. That means they have flagged her specifically for national security, counterterrorism, or serious organized crime reasons. Which is interesting because, I mean, in order to do that, don't get me wrong, our government's like retarded and lies about stuff all the time. But in order to do that, I mean, they're using a piece of legislation like they can't, I mean, they can make shit up, right? But they will have had to have made a case for that. She needs to do like a subject access request. She needs to find out what it was. But yeah, so the Home Secretary or officials will have deemed her present undesirable due to character, conduct, associations, views, or potential to threaten public order, national security, or societal cohesion. And it's often applied to extremist hate preachers or those whose activities could stir unrest. However, It doesn't apply to people like the president or prime minister of Syria, who's an actual ex Al Qaeda. I would so not I wouldn't even say ex, who actual Al Qaeda jihadi terrorist who is currently releasing all the ISIS members from the Syrian prisons and genociding the Kurds. But nobody's talking about the Kurds because everybody's only talking about Iran. It's like there is one narrative and one bandwidth. And so we were talking about the Christians being murdered in Nigeria for well over 5 years, and everybody finally caught up like towards the end of last year. We've been talking about Iran protesting and being executed and being slaughtered in the street for protesting for the last 4 years, and now people have finally caught up. And so now we're talking about the Kurds and nobody's fucking noticed, right? So this is how you can tell I'm not being paid by an influence operation person, because I'm not talking about it when everybody else is talking about it. We've already fucking covered it. Because now people are it's very frustrating because we should have the bandwidth to have multiple conversations about people being unduly genocided, right? So nobody's talking about Gaza anymore. Everybody's now supporting fucking suicidal regimes because the BBC says so. Right? They want Maduro. The people are fucking in the streets wanting Khamenei. Like the butcher of Tehran is being dressed up as the good guy. And just on the point of Iran, they reckon about 16,500 people were being butchered and executed. So, with our fucking grandstanding and putting one soldier on Greenland, like, what are we doing about actual, like, murders, executions? Like, where's the UN? Like, what's the point in the UN and the peacekeeping and all of those things if they don't do anything in advance of, like, this was inevitable, right? It was absolutely inevitable with what was going to happen in Iran. Absolutely inevitable what was going to happen in Syria. Like, I just don't, and I am not some like geopolitical expert. Like, I have only been looking at this stuff for 5 years. I do it for 1 day a week. Okay, so I'm kind of like on like social media and stuff like that quite a lot, trying to figure out what's going on. But what I'm trying to suggest is that the actual intelligence assets and organizations and governments are either completely retarded and therefore need to be stripped of all their funding, or they're purposely letting this shit happen. And I'm going to argue for purposely letting this shit happen because it works in their favor. Because how can they get more jihadis and terrorists and global threat to us to kind of fall in line and comply? Well, you let ISIS back fucking on the streets. This is why we've been having this like, huge fucking wave of immigration. But now we found out we can just fucking de-citizen people, right? Throw them back. This is another piece of legislation that we have under our belt that does not get promoted or talked about enough. It's not been talked about by the, British influencers. I didn't know we could just automatically de-citizen people. I mean, the Shamima Begum thing, well, no, I was like, wait a minute. I mean, she was like bad. But actually, they don't even have to be bad. They can just be working for a Russian football, are doing social media for a Russian football company. What are they called? Club. There we go. Football club. Or they can just be Regular people like you and me who get reported to the Prevent. So what I asked Grok was which MPs can I get rid of first, right? Because that's what went through my head. Because I do not believe foreign-born or people with overwhelmingly foreign heritage should be in any political position. So I do not agree with Layla being the going for the mayor. She's Egyptian, right? She might have been born in Britain. That's fine. She's still Egyptian. Like her parents were Egyptian. Like that's not she's 100% Egyptian. She's not half and half, right? She's not like Warburton spread. I think it's very difficult to find like a full English breakfast. Right. So I love food. So I think it's going to be very difficult to find like a full English ethnic person. And obviously part of the UK, we do have like England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So it would be very difficult to find like a full, like 100%, right? But there should be a set percentage, right? Or like, I don't know, third generation. So maybe her grandchildren, because she was born, right? So not her children, but maybe her grandchildren. And they have continued to be upstanding members of society, right? Because somebody like me, who's got like half of me, like more than half of me, like that's like Doomsday Book. When was that? Like 12? Like 10? Is that 10? What, let's just ask. Let's stop guessing. Was the Doomsday Book? $10.86. That's a lot. Like I've done. My dad's family has kind of put the time in, right? They've put the time into this country, has got some kind of claim to stake, right? If you've only been here for 40 years, effectively, like you haven't got the same. And it's not just about like, oh, I like tea or I will queue effectively, right? It's not the same, right? I would not expect that I could go to another country, give birth, and that child run the country like that. I think that's wrong. Like it's not, I'm not being hypocritical. I don't agree with that either. So I kind of asked, well, who can I get rid of first? You used to have 9 generations. I mean, I think 9 generations is probably a bit excessive. I think third generation, because but third generation on like provisos. Because it's so much, it's a lot. Maybe it needs to be more now because it's so easy to just up sticks and move. I think these are serious conversations we need to have, and we need to kind of like, because you can't just talk about problems. This is why I hate politicians. This is the problem, and we're gonna make up a solution. We want to earn money. We're gonna earn money this way, and now we're gonna say this is the problem, right? So we actually have to do it the other way. Like, what is the problem? Well, the problem is that non-ethnic people without any ethnic ties to the nation, right? No ethnic ties at all whatsoever, are making decisions about our 1,000+ year old history. If we're going to look at kind of laws and legislation, so Magna Carta, we had kind of unifiedness for over 1,000 years because they don't have the same it's not generational instilled that this is how we live, right? So talking about that, we have David Lammy, right? Don't need fucking jury trials. Fuck that shit. Doesn't matter that this teeny tiny little island, like, colonized like shitloads of countries, brought to them democracy, jury trials, like all of those things that are hugely embedded in who we are as a nation, because he's not British and not British by any kind of ethnicity. He's like, fuck it, we don't need it. Yeah, there's a backlog. Fuck it. That backlog, vast majority of the fucking asylum claims. So how about, rather than getting rid of jury trials, you just fucking send those asylum seekers home? Just say no. It's not like that. You remember that whole like drug advert? It was before I was born, but maybe it wasn't before. It was before I was old enough to kind of know. This is what it should be. Asylum claim. Just say no. Just say no. So he holds explicit dual UK and Guyanese citizenship. Born in London to Guyanese parents. So he's just born here. He has no actual ties to the nation other than he just happened to be born here. That's it. He didn't choose to live here. His parents might have come here on a jolly, decided, fuck it, we'll stay. We've also got Sadiq Khan. We need to get rid of that fucktard. Pakistani immigrant parents, eligible for Pakistani citizenship by descent under Pakistan Citizenship Act 1951. Right? This was the most exciting piece of legislation I've ever come across. That every single Pakistani in this country is automatically allowed Pakistani citizenship, even if they're born here, because of their Citizenship Act 1951. So we can instantly strip every single Pakistani rape gang person of their British citizenship because they are automatically allowed to be citizens of Pakistan. Just like that. But we're not doing it. Kemi, we need to get rid of her, like, because she's fucking Nigerian. She grew up in Nigeria. Like, she was born in London to Nigerian parents, but she was raised in Nigeria until she was 16. So she didn't even grow up here. Like, she's here as an adult. And now she wants to be in, like, that's even worse. Like, that is worse than all of the others. She didn't even have to, like, fucking deal with being a child or a teenager. Like, she is not British in any way, shape, or form. She is Nigerian, interloping and wanting to direct the nation. If she wants to be the leader of a nation, she needs to go back to Nigeria and try to be a leader in Nigeria. My oldest sister was born in Germany too, on an RAF base, so she's a British citizen. She's British not by birth. She's British by origin, right? By nationality, right? 100%. So I was born in Scotland, but I'm not Scottish. So Kemi, gone, right? Priti Patel, gone. British citizen born in London to Ugandan Indian parents who fled Uganda. That's fine. You don't have to go back to Uganda. You can go to India, like Uganda and India. She got two choices. If Uganda's still bad, you know, who knows what they were doing in Uganda, or which side of the kind of whole civil war and stuff was going on. I'm guessing they were on the losing side, but she's eligible for Ugandan citizenship under Ugandan Citizenship and Immigration Control Act because she's a child of Ugandan nationals. right? So if she wants to stop immigration, like stop immigration, she's an immigrant. Go home. Because some of the shit she did is put us where we are, right? Go home. Don't need you. We've got plenty of English people and Scottish people and Welsh people and Northern Irish people in this country who can be the MPs, who can be the councillors, who can be the parish councillors, who can be the shire like we do not need imported people running the country, right? If they want representation, you have a country. Because if you come to this country in order to experience and live this kind of free nation, then we need to be the ones who are running it in the same way that we've been fucking running it for thousands of years, right? Because otherwise it's not our country, it's yours. And you have one. We need to get rid of, straight away, we can get rid of Rishi Sunak. Southampton, born in Southampton to Kenyan and Tanzanian parents of Indian descent. I mean, he's got 3 places he can go by the looks of things. Kenyan, though Indian laws prohibit full dual citizenship. So, I mean, he would go and then he's stuck, right? That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. We've also got Anwar Sawa, Pakistani, gone. Should be he gets very upset about all the white people. He should like self-deport. You know, he wants to be somewhere where he's surrounded by people who look like him. There's a whole country full of people who look like you. It's called Pakistan. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Like, if I wanted to go to another country with people that look like me, I mean, I'd go to Ireland. Like, I wouldn't go to Nigeria. I wouldn't go to Somalia. I mean, I wouldn't go to Somalia anyway, but I'm just stating, if I want to be surrounded by people who look like me, I am not going to go to a nation which has got a completely different culture, completely different melanin level. Like, if that is the thing that really bothers you, go, right? Like, I don't care what you look like. I actually genuinely don't care where you come from, but I do not think we should be having non-ethnic United Kingdom nationals in charge of the nation, right? We've got enough of our own complete assholes to deal with. We don't need everybody else's. Like, where are our super intelligent people who should be running the country? Well, they're not allowed. So in order for you to be an MP, you have to be selected. So the party, okay, so we've always had lots of party, but this is why I advocate independence. Like, fuck the parties. You should be we need independence in every single constituency, because then the only people you are aligned with are your people, right? So if you are part of a party, the party decides who stands in what area. Not the members, the people at the top, right? And so before you're even going to the ballot, you are not allowed to vote for the person you want to vote for. So in Telford, the members put somebody forward to be Telford's MP for Conservative Party. And the Conservative Party said, no, this is who you're having. Like, so somebody came from London. So Lucy came all the way from London. Somebody who'd been here had been a part of the party, been involved in the council, like, been involved in actual democratic things in Telford, who the members liked, respected, would have worked, has an actual base. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't know the other person, but she wasn't allowed to be on the ballot. So it costs you 500 quid to stand as an MP. But it costs you 500 quid to kind of put your nomination and your papers in. You do need to get like some set number of signatures, and you obviously need to like spend quite a lot of money on campaigning and all of that sort of stuff, right? But we have things like GoFundMe now. We have social media. Nowadays it's there's real opportunity for people who actually are fed up with the state of the nation to stand as an MP, stand as an independent, not only just rally volunteers to help, but also rally the funds to enable you to actually, put out leaflets, do some adverts, actually get your name out there. We do not need the parties anymore, and this is why I get annoyed at reform, and even a little bit annoyed at Rupert Lowe. But obviously, like, Rupert Lowe, if you don't know, is a huge what is he? Stakeholder? What's he called? Shareholder. He's like the second shareholder in an energy company that is pushing net zero. So, I mean, I keep telling you all, like, nobody in Parliament is good people. They're all selected. So even though he's independent now, he was initially selected. So he was already pre-approved to toe the line, and do as he's told. And now he's allowed to play the part he's playing. Right? Because if they really didn't want him doing the part that he's doing, then they would do what they did to people like the Done I Go. I don't like Lucy Allen. I think I don't. But she wasn't playing by the rules. She really was invested in bringing Telford's rape gang front and center again, because it had just been brushed under the carpet, and she got removed. She got the whip removed. She was not allowed to sit anywhere near the front. She wasn't allowed to kind of bring motions. So she got put on the naughty step, and that's where she stayed. And then she was told she wasn't allowed to stand. Well, I think they made it so uncomfortable, she probably didn't want to stand again. Because she was just a token MP. So Rupert Lowe is allowed to put motions forward. And yet you can say, well, he's only got himself to regulate. Sure. But the House of Commons still like decide like who can kind of like table motions, so he's still, and he would have been selected beforehand, right? So her family's old money. So our super intelligent people who should be running the country are not allowed. And if they were like me, and I'm not saying I'm super intelligent, but I was passionate about supporting my local area, you will last maybe a term in your local government and then go, fuck that. Like, that is free. I am not even being paid to be like fucking abused. No. And you realize you can't change anything because you're the only one who actually wants to change stuff. Everybody else is there for the handouts. Everybody else is there for the power. Like, the entire thing is they talk about, okay, so we talk about the military industrial complex. It's a political industrial complex. They are generationally, like, on Oaken Gates's parish town and on Oaken Gates's town council, we had a mother, father, and daughter elected, and her husband. Out of 11 seats, 4 of them were related. The mother, father, and daughter were also on the main town council. They were also on other councils. So they were members of multiple parish councils and town councils and on the main borough council. Like, it's the politics is the biggest fucking con. And they're all on the governing boards of the schools. They're all on the governing boards of the hospitals. They're on the governing boards of all the working groups and the strategies and like. So I used to volunteer. Like when I first started my business, I volunteered for like the suicide prevention strategy. I volunteered for like the mental health board because I wanted to do what I could. And I was quite happy so all of that was free. Like, it was free stuff that I was giving my time and energy to help the people in Telford who couldn't afford to pay me. Right, that was my thing. Right, if I'm charging the money I'm charging for the people who get my to help directly, how can I help the people who can't afford me, but make sure they get some kind of care? Right, that's what I did. I was a trustee of Mind, the local Mind. I was a governor of one of the primary schools in the one of the most deprived areas in Telford. That's also kind of fit like the most deprived area in the top 10 most deprived areas in the country. So I didn't just go and be like, oh, this is like a nice school. Like, I went to the places where the stuff that I know could be most beneficial to the people who needed it. And what I saw with the same fucking faces, and these people don't even have like um any educational background into what they were on. They don't have any workplace background into what they were on. These are career politicians who go to school and then go into politics, right? They've got no real world life experience in any way, shape, or form. And they are in control of the schools, they're in control of the hospitals, both financially when they are on the councils and then voluntary when they rock up on the boards. Like, it's the biggest fucking scam. And you can go be local hospitals board, right? You just have to sign the form and you just have to get yourself elected. But I would argue that first off, you need to kind of do something if you want to be on one of these boards. Go just like make a name for yourself and go and see. Like, you have to go and see it. It's crazy. Like, it's just it's just mind-boggling. But they're there for power. And because they've done one, then they say, oh well, I was on the mental health 0 to 25 strategy board, so I should obviously be here. Okay, but what's your background? Like, literally, how can you help? Like, what do you actually know about mental health? Well, I was on the board. Okay, but like, what's your actual input into understanding how what you say is going to impact these people's lives, and you have no idea about mental health. You have no idea about mental illness. Like, it's insane. Like, I personally believe anybody who is the business secretary, they should have a history of running businesses, right? I think while we shouldn't be excluding people, right? I do agree we need, like, representation from all walks of life. I don't think Johnny down the road who's never had a job should be in charge of the strategic decisions of the entire country. Like, while 100%, absolutely. Jump on your parish council, maybe jump on your town council just for a bit of proportional representation. But the people who are getting the cabinet positions, who are making strategic decisions and spending the fucking money, like, they should have a background in the thing that they're doing. I don't believe anybody who has never, ever had any kind of medical training should be in charge of deciding what happens with our health service. This is why our health service is so fucked, because 99% of the people who decide what happens with it are just managers, right? They've never actually, they don't understand the complications. Like, they don't understand what it's like in real world terms, in order for, you know, something so basic as a nurse to do the rounds and maybe give out the prescriptions. Like, they don't understand that maybe this takes time, there's the forms, then you also have people, like, kind of, you know, shit happens in a hospital that you're not expecting. So on paper, oh, well, you know, all you're doing is handing prescriptions out for 3 beds. That's fine. You should be able to do that and do this and do that and do that. This is the efficiencies. Why aren't you doing it? You're failing. Because we're dealing with real people. We're doing actual real people with real problems. Like, it's not, they're not bits of paper. I've seen the Gary Waterman stuff initially. And I saw his kind of conversations in the beginning. Yeah. I kind of stopped following him because it kind of went off on lots of tangents that I didn't think were. He woke up based on his situation, and then he fell down the rabbit hole, and then he spiraled, and I was like, I can't, I don't need to be paying attention to somebody's messy spiral. When he kind of comes back online and starts kind of redirecting himself to what he knows, then I'll probably go back. So, but I mean, I did it. Like, everybody does it. Like, I can, I watch people. So we used to watch, like, the Conspiracy Files. I thought they were quite good. Well, they started out as the Paranormal Files, and then I kind of watched Conspiracy Files. And the more he's kind of fallen down the rabbit holes, like, the more he's just spiraling out on his, like, podcasts and just, like, ranting about depopulation and like, this stuff's going on. But I've always tried to come with, like, this is the shit we're facing. This is kind of how we can use it. These are the laws. These are the legislations. Here's how we can use it, right? Because spiraling isn't helpful. And no shit. Yeah, he needs to come back up for some air, I think, if he's living in a tent. So we all kind of, well, absolutely right. We do all spiral. We all kind of, like, find out about the red shoes. We find out about McDonald's. We find out about all of that horrific stuff that's going on. Realize that you're actually in a place of, like, near, just like, there is no way, like, like, you kind of feel like there is just no point, right? I'm reporting this, in hopes that somebody else out there is kind of on the same wavelengths. But it's not helpful, right? Because we are past that. I think this is it. We are past that point. They woke up too late. I think this is my issue. They woke up too late. Now's not the time for spiraling and digging around down rabbit holes. Now is the time for we need to be doing action because we are getting to the place of no return. And all the people waking up doing podcasts about shit that was relevant 10 years ago, like they need to get in their lane fast and start bringing solutions based on the things that they know. I know that sounds really harsh, but it's the reality of where we are. There isn't time to be spending days and days and days, like, just looking at shit. You've gotta kind of, like you've gotta hunt with purpose. FYI, I am still allowed to do I've got my question on Thursday to the council, with regards to digital ID. And I thought maybe they were gonna chuck it. I got the email just before I kinda came on last week, and I thought they were gonna say that I wasn't allowed it because the government had literally kind of, like, U-turned that kind of, like, week. But I'm still allowed to go. So, the heads up, it will be focused on, putting safety mechanisms in place so that there's always a non-digital option, right? So that they don't bring it in by the back door, because this is what they will do. Kind of like the COVID pass, they bring it in by the back door. So that's where I will be preempting it. Um, oh well, that's not helpful, is it? That's not working. It's not helpful. Because we don't need to collapse like, they are collapsing the economy. Like, we don't need to collapse the economy, right? And detaching yourself from what's happening, I don't agree with that. The people who, when I was, going around when I put myself up for election in 2023, the people who'd, like, taken their, there was this whole thing about, like, remove your post box, right? Remove your letterbox so you can't get the mail, like and I was just like, when I was campaigning, I saw hundreds of people who would have probably voted for me, and then they'd have had an independent representative on the town council, who could have sorted the shit out that they were angry about, right? So detach, and Bob Moran and people like that who kept saying, "Don't go, spoil your ballot." Like, they're why we've ended up with Labour as well, because there were independents who were kind of standing in the general election. So detaching yourself from society, like, you're not achieving anything. You're letting them win, right? Because the bad people aren't detached and they will keep fucking doing it anyway. Like, it's just silly. Okay, so we kind of had a little bit of a side wander there. Okay, so we're going to move on to Davos 2026, and this was kind of the rabbit hole I did fall down into. And actually, it wasn't like the whole Davos agenda rabbit hole. I kind of fell into, like, a holy fuck, how did I not know about this? And some potential steps. Right, it's all about action steps, right? So now we know. So just to kind of wrap up what we were talking about, which was the de-citizening, now we know that's an option. So we know the UK Borders Act, right? Because we have to start making a plan about what we want to see. And if you want to vote reform, like, I mean, it's just voting for the fucking Conservatives, right? You need to know what you're kind of demanding of them. This is what we demand. No woolly, we're going to deport. Tell me which laws you're using, when you're going to use it, how many you're using. Give me a proper fucking manifesto, and then maybe I will back you. And if you don't do it, then I will fucking pull you down. Like, that's how we need to behave. Okay, so overview of Davos 2026. So, for those of you who don't know, the World Economic Forum holds an annual meeting in Davos in Switzerland. And also, just so you know, loads of fucking prostitutes go, because All of these upstanding members of community, of which there are 3,000 from 130 different countries, all there to address global challenges and geopolitical tensions, economic fragmentation, and technological shifts. They really like having conversations with prostitutes because prostitutes obviously know what it's like to live in the world. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why the hotels are booked up with prostitutes, but, so this year, the 5 priorities are cooperation in a contested world, which means they're obviously recognizing people are saying no. Deploying innovation responsibly. Of course, it's only talk, Edwin. What else do prostitutes do? Unlocking new growth sources in low growth environments, investing in people amid job transformation, so that's DEI, balancing prosperity with planetary boundaries, right? I think that's really interesting terminology. Planetary boundaries. So they are all in on there's no such thing as a sovereign nation. There's only the one global planet. And obviously we've got NASA kind of saying we're going to start repopulating Mars, and they're building populating Earth, the moon. We've got hotels trying to get planning permission on the moon. And it just, if you want like at the low end of a stay, it's only like 7.5 million. So, something we're all going to be able to do, right? I wonder how happy like the kind of like moon aliens are with us mass building. Okay, so we have to remember that the World Economic Forum is a soft power, right? So that's what the BBC is. It's like propaganda. It shapes a narrative. It's not hard power. Well, I mean, they kind of like aligned with the UN and all of that shit, but technically they are soft power. They impose agendas without democracy, right? So they just kind of say, this is the issue, and this is how we're going to fix it as a global. This is what we need to do together in order to get out of this kind of shitstorm that we believe is the issue, right? Not I believe the issue is that I can't, like at me and other people are struggling to pay our bills, are struggling to afford food, are struggling to, just function. The economy is not an issue. The issue is that people are divided. People are attached to their ethnicity. I mean, it's okay for everybody on this side, by the way, it's just not okay for them lot, right? So we need to deal with the troublemakers. So that's us, right? That's us. So what I asked for is like key people who we needed to be there are over 3,000 people. So, Grok wasn't going to kind of list all of them. And I'm glad he didn't list all of them. These are prominent attendees grouped by category. Significance is based on their roles, influence, and relevance to WEF themes. Okay, so first up, we've got Trump. He's obviously challenges WEF multilateralism, focusing on trade, tariffs, and global fragmentation. So I don't know. It's this week, isn't it? I believe. I'm pretty sure it's this week. It'd be nice to see what he says. Obviously, Farage is gone because he's anti-Davos, anti-WEF, and then he's gone. So he's, by the way, if you kind of like, you haven't heard me say it before, Reform were just there to ensure the Conservatives didn't win the last election. But then they need to self-sabotage in order to not allow the people to kind of get in power, right? So which is why we have Muslims it being put up as mayor when I'm gonna stand by a white van man like in London. I mean, but obviously a white van man who runs a successful business, you know, has got other talents potentially. I don't know, but yeah, maybe. But he would be a better candidate, because he's representative of the largest portion of London, not the Muslims. They're only 20%, right? Um, and then obviously they got Zawar with like fucking Vax minister, now Genric. Now it's just fucking the same dicks who were in power who got the ball rolling on the UN sustainability goals. They've just co-opted the same arseholes who were involved in completely decimating the country during COVID. He's now taken on board. But I mean, he was pushing Tony Blair to be like the vaccine minister, right? So Farage. Like, I just don't understand how people. I don't understand how it's taken people till now to realize he was a snake. And if he ends up playing a role and actually being a good guy, I will be pleasantly surprised. But I do not, based on his actions, I do not see it in any way, shape, or form. So Mark Carney, who's Canada's Prime Minister, he's there. He's also obviously the ex England Bank of England guy. And he's also a WEF insider. So he's full WEF, right? He is all in on net zero, climate scams, and in love with stakeholder capitalism. So stakeholder capitalism is socialism. It's not actual capitalism. So he's all in on socialism. We haven't had proper capitalism for decades. We've got monopolies. We've got corporatocracy. I don't know if that's a word, but if it isn't, I'm going to claim it. Friedrich Merz, who is the Germany's federal chancellor, who is overseeing Europe's energy crisis. I mean, he should look closer to home because Germany is on its third year of shrinkage and is going fucking bankrupt because of their net zero zealotness. Obviously, Ursula, the fraudster, actual convicted fraudster, who runs the EU Commission president, she's there. Lifeng, who's a China vice premier, he's there. He oversees China's economy. And obviously he's probably there to kind of tell everybody, like, this is how we control the population in China. So first off, we have these things called smartphones. Second up, we have these, and we kind of turn them into like this digital ID thing. And then the minute somebody says something bad on social media, we literally go, boop, you are being de-citizened. And then we have like, we just don't deal with them anymore. We just block them from their bank accounts. We kind of block them from their housing units because everything's digital and they just scan their faces and their biometrics. But yes, we do have all of these like homeless people, but that's okay because we've now got this booming like organ harvesting trade. So if you need a new kidney, you know where to come, right? So that's why he's there. Allegedly. No, I'm just gonna fucking say it. That's why China's there because they fund a lot of this shit, right? So they take we don't have coal plants, so we have to get China to build stuff because it's cheap. It's cheaper for us to get China to build it and import it than it is for us to build it because it costs us so much fucking money. We've also got Javier Milei, who is TBC, to be confirmed whether he's good people or bad. He does kind of like a bit of sometimes he does stuff and you think, oh yeah, and then he's going, I'm not too sure. I don't know whether he's playing a role or whether he's legit being useful. Done lots of really good stuff from what I can see. But that's only the stuff we get reported because we're not actually over in Argentina. Subianto represents emerging markets, focuses on growth amid planetary boundaries, right? So he's the Indonesian president bringing the whole planetary boundaries because there's no nation boundaries anymore. They decided, right? You don't get a say because you are a resident, you're a citizen of Earth. I'm watching Expanse. I'm pretty sure it's called Expanse. And the UN is in control of like Earth, Mars, and then they've got the Outer Planetary Alliance, which is like they call it the Belt. So they've got like little like satellite hubs. So these kind of like three nations all kind of like fighting. But this is where we go. Like literally, I'm watching the future. The UN is still causing fucking wars. And in the last episode I watched, they caused 2 million people to get murdered by the Martians. But the Martians are humans who just went and then tried to recreate Earth and then got angry. Anyway, but it's quite interesting when you kind of watch the sci-fi stuff and then you come back to reality and be like, oh, that's like predictive programming. So, planetary boundaries. Then we've got Pedro Sanchez, Spain's prime minister, G7 representative, aligns with EU, net zero social policies. So I feel bad for Spain because they had full communism and then they kind of threw it away. And now they've kind of got socialism, communism again, right? So you just can't. They're like it's what I said, like a fucking bad rash. They just keep coming back. Macron, who we all know and dislike. And FYI, while we're on Macron, there is a kind of like AI generated, they're not called GIFs anymore, like little mini video of him getting beaten by Bridget. And it's going around and people are like fucking thinking it's hilarious. Like at what, like, and going around in supposedly Christian circles, like people who are Christians, i.e. like huge swathes of Americans who think it's hilarious, right? That somebody's getting the shit kicked out of them. Like that's domestic violence. Like there's a reason why men who are at the hands of like psychotic women, and whether Brigitte's a man or not is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that there is no way those same people would be circulating this kind of like meme, like video meme, if it was the other way around. They wouldn't. They would say it's disgusting, it's shocking, how dare anybody think this is funny? But it's okay for like the man, like people need to fucking rein it in. Like either you agree with violence and then it's like open season on you as well. Come on, let's be fair. If you think it's fine for somebody to get the shit kicked out of them, then I mean it's fine for somebody to kick the shit out of you. I prefer the stance violence is not okay ever. I also prefer the stance murder's not okay ever. Right? Can we just, so if you see it, like I would urge you to kind of just actually put yourself in the situation. Like what about all the victims of male domestic abuse, of which there are a lot who don't have the same infrastructure as women? They don't have shelters to go through, they don't have people they can talk to. I mean they kind of have like one-ish helpline nowadays. It's not okay. So it wasn't okay that everybody thought it was hilarious when she fucking hit him on the plane. Like everybody should be horrified at the fact that it was so normalized. Nobody kind of like did anything or cared. just because I don't like someone at all, and I think he should be in prison, and I think he's a psychopath, and I think he's probably done horrific things to innocent people, but it doesn't mean I then advocate violence. Like, this is where we go wrong as a human collective. You have to pick a fucking lane. Either something is okay or it's not okay. Like, there is no gray that it's okay to beat somebody just because you don't like them. Because people won't like you. We got Zelensky there, obviously, after some more fucking handouts because he needs what, like his third yacht? I don't understand how Ukraine. I mean, the biggest fucking money laundering, gaslighting operation in the world. So we've also got some international organizational leaders. We've got the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, a World Trade Organization, Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the World Bank Group President, AJ Banga, who is all about the NGOs and NGO finance complex. We've got IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva. So she's obviously going to be doling out some more cash with strings to some countries. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Like, what are these people? Like, these people, I mean, fucking EU, actual fraud. Actual fraud. Okay, we've also got Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, who is an AI hardware pioneer. It's his first time at Davos, so I wonder how many prostitutes he was allowed to speak to. Just as an introduction. Like, here's my 3 favorite prostitutes who've got all of that focus group knowledge that you could do with. And I wonder how old those prostitutes are, if it's his first time there. With all the spy agencies behind the walls with their little fucking little cameras, right? Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei. He's AI. Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis, AI research leader. Planteers there, of course they are. Mopping up everybody's data, surveilling. Digital ID. What else do they do? Oh, the NHS contracts. CIA. OpenAI CEO Sarah Fryer. They're talking all about generative AI. There's also finance and business leaders. And then Matt Damon. So, because them Hollywood types, them actors who aren't always that good at acting, they absolutely deserve a seat round the table deciding what us mere mortals do. He also happens to be the co-founder of Water.org, which is really interesting because AI takes up a lot of fucking water and a lot of fucking energy. Which means, despite Keir Starmer's pledge for us to be the AI capital of the world and investing 22 billion with our shitty water, literal shitty water, because of what our water companies have been doing. I mean, Kent didn't have water for, I don't even know whether they've got water yet. We have got leaky fucking pipes. So the water's out. and then you need, like, a lot of electricity, and we don't have lots of electricity, which is why we gotta, like, get it from everywhere else, which is why we're so fucked. So net zero and, like, there's just no way, right? So we are being missold. I think we need to, like, start a, no win, no fee lawyer firm, against, like, missold missold, legislation or missold, I don't know, budgets or something where we were like, "No, you said we would each household would save £300 a year through net zero. Our bills have gone up at least double that. Therefore, you can't do what you say you're gonna do." And I'll come on to why they fucking can and will, regardless. Okay, so I was like, "Hey, what's the point of the WEF?" So I can help explain it. So, so what's the point of Davos? So it was founded in 1971, if you didn't know, Klaus Schwab. And Klaus Schwab, in case you didn't know, is like an actual Nazi, right? I get called a Nazi. He's an actual Nazi. Like his dad owned a munitions factory. He was invited to Hitler's wedding. Like he was like fucking besties with the guy, like full on Nazi. And Klaus Schwab is also a Nazi. And is now deciding, so like they never, like, you don't even have to go into the Arctic conspiracies, like, you know, with New Schwabenland and the fact that, you know, Hitler's body wasn't Hitler's body, and you don't have to go into any of that. You literally just look at the WEF and you have a literal Nazi telling the world what they have to do. So we don't talk about that. No? Okay. So, it's a think tank, right, where elites from politics, finance, tech, and NGOs network, form alliances and shape narratives on global challenges, but not the real global challenges because, they don't want to make society better. They just want to make more money. Like more money, more power, more fucking narcissistic loop that they're in. Um, so we have top-down agendas imposed without public input, prioritizing control or money over societal benefits. The significance lies in its influence. Attendees often return home implementing ideas via policy, regulation, or corporate shifts. So it's not just a fucking prostitute-led focus group. Or prostitute involved, sorry. Elite-led focus group with prostitutes being their target market, right? Because we don't get to go. Like the only people who come from the outside, and I'm not going to call them sex workers because that legitimizes the fact that women are being trafficked and children and girls and boys, right, are being trafficked into this, and they are selling the only thing they have in order to feed themselves. That's not a job. That is not a job by choice, right? So how Davos's soft policies are rapidly implemented in the West, and now it's kind of like started to kind of verge into the UK because I want to know how we can fix it. So they do informal consensus building, not binding laws. So leaders absorb ideas in closed sessions, then advance them via domestic channels, often bypassing direct votes because we don't vote for this shit. We didn't vote for a Nazi to decide what we should do. We didn't vote for a war criminal or a fraudster or all of these absolute bellends to tell me what to do when 99.9% of them are not even from the UK, and similarly whichever country you're in, right? So attendees, politicians, CEOs from partnerships such as WEF's 37 future councils and 22 industry groups, right? So there's WEF is huge. It's not just Klaus Schwab. It's all of these like boards and groups that are all this. They're all fucking indoctrinated with the same bullshit. All think this is it, right? Um, Plus we've got fact that BlackRock are obviously there. So their information that they kind of set the agenda, and it filters into UN frameworks, and UN frameworks filter into EU frameworks over here, and then they go into legislations and laws, right? And so when I was like, wait, because Grok then threw up a law, which kind of ended up coming out of this, that I didn't know was I just didn't know it was a thing, because it was occurred like almost 20 years ago. When I was busy getting drunk and buying shoes and handbags in retail. It's not where I am today. So we have to remember, in the UK in 2015, David Cameron, again, so it's not the Labour government now are implementing the things that have been put in play over 20 years ago. And then were kind of ramped up under the Sustainable Development Goals. It was more cohesion. But it all started with the UN's Who Cares Wins document from 2004. That's where it started. And it started to get ramped up and implemented after the financial crisis, because they love a crisis. They love manufacturing a crisis in order to implement the goals, right? So in 2004, they put this thing out and everybody was like, fuck that shit. My peeps, they ain't going to go down for that, right? So then they kind of sat around and be like, okay, well, what could we do? We could do a war, or we've kind of we're already doing the terrorism thing, because 2004. Maybe we can do like a pandemic. Well, we kind of don't have things in place for that. Maybe we can do natural disasters. I don't think that's going to work. I know what we can do. We need to disrupt the financial, right? We need to kind of start top down financial. So we will manufacture a crash. How will we do this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start offering 100% fucking mortgages to anyone, regardless of how much they can afford to pay, because then they will default and then we will be fucked. And then when we're fucked, then we can say, look at all these bad bankers. Here's how we make sure that we do responsible finance. We're going to do finance as it pertains to saving the planet, right? And we've kind of been like talking up this climate shit and acid rain for like a long time, but people just don't seem to be getting it. But that's okay. We've got HARP and STOMP technology, and we're much better with frequencies. We're starting to roll out the tech now, so we can scaremonger like really easy. We got social media now. We got 2008. We had Facebook in play. So we need to make sure the communication's there, so we can just shit everybody up. We can fuck the banks. Then we can take loads of money off the taxpayers to bail out the banks. And then we can kind of like redefine capitalism and really start ramping shit up. Right? That's kind of what happened. But in 2016, 2015, 2016, David Cameron signed this as onto the Sustainable Development Goals, right? Nobody said do that. What we actually said as a nation is take us out of the fucking EU. Like, in the same year he signed those sustainable development goals, the entire nation democratically said they wanted nothing to do with them because the EU was implementing those exact things. So Brexit, everybody says Brexit was just about immigration. It wasn't. It was about immigration. It was about the EU's fucking retarded energy rules. It was about everything that was destroying the nation. And in the exact same year as the country said no, David Cameron signed us on, which is why he had to step down, because he was naughty. We said no, and he was supposed to convince us to say yes. I said yes, but I've said before, the only reason I fucking said yes was because I was fucking seeing all this shit, all the politicians and all the fucking political stuff, and I was like, fuck me, no way do I trust these clowns. Maybe if we're in the EU, we've got like an extra leg to stand on. I didn't know that it was coming top down, right? So I'm glad I lost. But it was genuinely, I was like, we need like somebody to kind of oversee like these fucking psychopaths in Parliament. That was it. Where I stand now is the only people who should be able to deal with psychopathic governments are the people. I think that should be embedded in every single country. I think that, but if the country doesn't want to do it, that's up to them, right? But it needs to be embedded in our country that we have actual non-hoopy hoops to jump through in order to kind of deal with this shit. So what I kind of asked was, does the Davos agenda, is it more restrictions and tighter controls, or is it just an acceleration? You voted out because you're a pleb. You voted out because you were fucking right. I don't mind saying when I was wrong. And they obviously stuffed the ballots and still lost, right? They got that wrong. The cabal had a really bad year in 2016. Because Trump got in, we voted out. But that's why they had to do all this fucking like shifty shit in the background. So that's what I was like, okay, well, are we getting new stuff, right? Because if it's new stuff, then we kind of don't know what's coming. Or is it just acceleration? Because if it's an acceleration, there's enough information out there that we can kind of start prepping and removing things before oh yeah, no, we're still not out because they didn't do it. They wouldn't do it. They can't. And the reason why they can't is because they're all selected and they're all part of the club, right? So they just can't do it. Same as Faraji boy, right? Because he disappeared because he wasn't supposed to win. So he was told, in my opinion, he was told, you need to get back in your fucking box. Because you weren't supposed to fucking win. You were just supposed to placate them, but you were not allowed to win. Because he's old money. If he was a real threat, he wouldn't have been an MEP because they wouldn't have selected him in the first place. Yeah, but who retires the day they get the thing that they fucking want? Like, you don't, do you? Because you wait until it's done. Anyway. So yeah, no, he's just so Grok's saying it's just an acceleration, right? Because these are like, they put out like loads of pages worth of stuff. And it takes Grok a minute to read like 300-400 pages. It would take me weeks and weeks. So we haven't got any new restrictions from what they're kind of pushing through. It's all about resilience and growth. So they haven't explicitly mentioned CBDs, digital ID and surveillance, but obviously that's woven into the bedrock of dealing with it. So they're saying it echoes the "Who cares" wins by further integration of ESGs and SDGs, so sustainable development goals, and an economic. Is it economic sustainable? Yeah, sustainable growth into themes like unlocking growth. So these are the buzzwords we're about to hear, right? Unlocking growth, prosperity within planetary boundaries, secure energy or secure nature systems. Right, get ready for all these fucking consultants kind of talking about this shit. That's how you'll tell who's been paid by who. AI governance. Just tightening everything up. Okay, so then, so he said something really interesting. I was like, wait, what? Wait. This is the law, right? So he mentioned UK. Okay, so the Who Cares wins was 2004, which led to EU mandate. So the Sustainable Finance Action Plan in 2018 and UK equivalents, 2021. So transition plans. And I was like, wait, the what? Like I was awake then. So why don't I know about the UK transition plans? So they've been pumping this shit out. And the first one was done. I can't remember what he said. I didn't kind of copy that way. So and I was like, okay, well, I need the most recent because I need to know what the fuck's our government's going to do. So the Carbon Budget and Growth Delivery Plan 2025 is this feckin' beast of a document. Look at this. 238 pages. And presented to Parliament pursuant to details of the Climate Change Act 2008. And I went, the what? We have a climate change law from 2008 that was obviously put in place while everybody was fucking distracted with losing their houses, with their money disappearing. So this is net zero. Like, this is where it comes from. It's not millibands now. It was put in place then. And it was started by Tony Blair, but he was obviously forced to step down, and it was put in by Gordon Brown. But it's not Gordon Brown's, it's Tony Blair's. And remember, the person who was in charge of the Labour Party, who was gonna win, had a heart attack and died. Then Tony Blair cropped up and he was being handled. We did that whole show on how Tony Blair randomly appeared out of nowhere, right? And I am well aware he's been put on Trump's fucking peace board. No way we pay that £1 billion to put him on there. And I'm going to look into that for next week because there's still more people like coming. So Viktor Orban's been asked to go on it now. So it's expanding. So, but I thought Davos is probably big enough for today's show anyway. But I am looking into it because I'm just like, I don't understand this. There's something going on here that I haven't figured out what this is yet. But this is the beast, right? This is telling us what they're now going to implement to fuck us over. So when we know what the things are called, we can preempt what's coming. So what I've asked was, wait a minute. Okay. It's our leading blueprint for slashing emissions while claiming, right, to boost growth. It's the government's how-to manual for net zero by 2050. This is literally how they're gonna do it. Uh, Updating price strategies like the 2021 net zero strategy. So that's, again, 2021 was the Conservatives. So the same people who are now in reform, they just jumped ship. They put this in place again. So summary of key points. Overall goal, meet carbon budget by 2033 to 2037, which was set in 2021. Pave the way for the next budget number 7, 2038 to 2042, and that will be out in June 2026. It says it's going to unlock benefits of the clean energy economy via energy security, bill payer protection, growth and jobs, and environmental gains, framed as Labour's clean energy superpower. Here's the sector by breakdown. So they're going to accelerate renewables, offshore wind by 2030, solar and nuclear expansion. So they're going to do solar power. We don't have any fucking sun. And at the same time, they're trying to like ban the sun, right? Which is just like, we're going to like turn all these farmers' fields into solar panels because you don't need to eat. You don't need, like, if we can starve lots of you, it's fine, right? So we're going to start euthanizing you, we're going to start starving you, like all of these things are going to help with their carbon emission plan, right? That bit's not in the book. That's the quiet bit they don't say out loud. Industry, so carbon capture, which has proven not to work. Like all the studies say that doesn't work, but we're still gonna pay loads of money for it, right? Hydrogen trials, efficiency mandates. Really expensive to do and unproven technology. And it's not unproven technology, it's proven to fail technology. They've put it in there because one of the consultants that they've paid has told them this is how you're going to do it. Fuel supply and hydrogen, so low carbon hydrogen production, biofuels blending. They don't think it's going to happen, but it's in there because this is their plan. They're going to make it happen regardless of whether the infrastructure is available or whether the technology is available or whether it's actually a useful thing to even achieve the goal that they're setting. Natural resources waste and F gases. So they're going to plant loads of trees, reduce waste. I'm not sure how they're going to reduce waste. Other than, the less people there are, the less food we have, the less people can buy, the more responsible they're going to be. They're not going to waste the food. You're only allowed 3 new outfits a year. And only when it is beyond repair are you going to be able to get it away. Destroy the retail industry, right? So fast fashion's got to go under. Claire's accessories went under because, and they literally said it's because of Starmer. So they're already reducing waste, and you will be tracked what you're buying to limit those things, right? And if you go to a supermarket and they can see your face, and they can then see your bank account because you're paying by card, and then they say, wait a minute, on your receipt you've got 3 jumpers. No. We're going to decline your card. We are not letting you leave that store. Or, oh, Katie, you already had a bottle of Baileys this year. No. I mean, I wouldn't waste the Baileys. And the bottle can be recycled. because they ain't looking at your shopping. They're looking at you. So they are taking your biometrics. It's already attached to your bank account. I mean, I pay cash as quite often if I can. But they still be like, she buys these items, right? So even though I'm paying cash, she buys these items. So they will just eat my card when I next try and go get some cash. I'm like, oh, well. And then you get a new card that says, oh, this doesn't work at an ATM. Sorry, love. Heat and buildings. So this is the one we all love to hate, right? Heat pumps roll out 600,000 a year by 2028. That's 2 years from now. Boiler bans, gas phased out by 2035. Energy efficiency upgrades. They have got medium confidence in putting that through, and one of them, they cite consumer resistance, right? So we want to do this, but we're kind of 50-50 on whether it's going to happen because people don't want it, but we're still going to put it in our fucking plan and we're still going to plow ahead, right? So we're a democracy, we govern by consent. The people say no, we're still going to do it anyway. Transport, electric vehicle mandates, all new cars zero emission by 2030. They're still fucking saying that shit, despite the fact we won't buy them and the car manufacturing companies are not building them anymore, right? They've stopped building them because people aren't buying them. It's still in there. Aviation and shipping fuels. Katie, I'm afraid you can't go to your granddad's 90th birthday because you dared to go to your mum's twice this year and you've already spent your petrol allowance. You went outside your 15-minute city location. You can just talk to your mum online. You don't need to go see her. You've got everything you need right here. Greenhouse gas removals, so engineered removals, bioenergy with CCS. I don't know those. Carbon capture, maybe. Oh no, that's CCUS. Don't know. That's by 2037. And they got low confidence in that working because it's emergency technology. They don't even know whether it's going to fucking do anything, but they're going to still put billions behind it, right? We're doing this. We're not going to wait to see if it works. We're fucking doing it. So they reckon they're going to make 480,000 new jobs by 2030. $1 trillion of pounds. No, they actually have put it in pounds. £1 trillion worth of investment opportunity. But they are going to have to put 15 billion up in grants for heat pumps because they're going to start blackmailing people, right? Either you fucking take a heat pump now when we're going to give you 7-8 grand off, so you're still spending, like, who's got £12,000 to spend on a fucking heat pump even with 7 and 8 grand like grant? Like that, like nobody's got that kind of money. But then they're saying you're not going to be able to buy a boiler in 2030. And in 2035, the companies are not going to be allowed to sell you parts. So I asked whether it's pointing to a more dystopian future. Of course it fucking is. Trump is going in a different direction. So hopefully he fucks shit up enough that we get an opportunity to kind of do some shit. Well, so it's not even just about the 400,000 jobs that they say they're gonna create. We've, like, lost 100,000 jobs. Like, Claire's is just closed, like, businesses are leaving, like, we're not bringing in skilled people. We're bringing in fucking benefit scroungers. Like, they actually, like, the logistics of this, they can't do. They don't have the people to fulfill these things. Um, yeah. We're just gonna fucking force them to. We just need to win. Sue like crazy. Get lots of money. This is we need to we need to all start playing the lottery, even though that's fixed and we'll never win, right? Okay, so it is a far more dystopian trajectory of unaffordable energy, grid instability, and elite-driven controls without consent. So mandatory targets and tighter controls. So it's enforcing emission caps with phased bans on petrol cars, gas boilers. Non-compliance risks fines and legal action. Right. So you could go to prison, probably. Right. You could go to prison for being a responsible person, not adding to the waste by driving the car that is probably now net zero because it was made. Like, so my car, absolutely net zero. It was made in 2007. Here we go. My boiler will be net zero by the time it rocks up, right? The cost of buying it, the cost of installation, and the creation. Like, my boiler is not doing anybody any harm anymore. Economic costs and pressures. So fuel supply shifts, raises prices, affordability is addressed via subsidies, right? So if something's beneficial and profitable, you don't need to fucking fund it with taxpayer money, right? The government isn't giving you a grant. It's your fucking money anyway. The government doesn't have money. It's our money. Yeah, 2009 and 1992. Yeah. Matt's got an old one. Matt's got a BMW E, what's it called? The E30. Is it an E30? I don't know. Looks like a bean can. That's what he calls it. It's like bright red. Yeah, 2004, 2007, and however old that thing is. It gets old. So high energy costs, and we currently have the highest industrial energy rates, right? So how are we going to be building all these things? How are we going to be creating how are we going to be like funding the offices, the AI, right? Well, we've got no water. How are we going to be doing this stuff with the highest energy costs in Europe? Like, not even reliable power, because the fucking solar panels and wind do not feed into the grid enough to sustain the energy. We're gonna have like rolling blackouts. The bare minimum. Oh, 100,000 jobs were lost last quarter, right? That's not even like over the last 2-3 years, like the last few years since they've been pushing this shit. In the last 3 months, 100,000 jobs have gone. Like, unemployment is rising. Like, the entire thing is completely unfeasible. They can't do it. Oh, okay. So all of this has been put in place because of the Climate Change Act 2008, right? So the Climate Change Act 2008 is a legally binding framework that requires the UK government to reduce greenhouse gas emissions year on year and reach very deep long-term cuts. It was passed with almost unanimous support, so 463 votes to 5, and got royal assent on the 26th of November 2008. So key provisions, legally binding, carbon budgets. So we already, like, people are talking about, oh, they're bringing CBDs and you have a carbon budget. It's already there. It's already been there for almost 20 years. We just didn't, well, I didn't know, right? So the government must set and meet 5-year carbon budgets, limits on total emissions for every period from 2008 onwards. These budgets cover the 6 main greenhouse gases: CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride. Once the budget is set into law, it becomes a statutory duty, and the government can be taken to court if it fails to meet, and has been. Right? So Friends of the Earth and those fucking green bullshitters keep taking the government to court to force them to go faster and to go harder, right? For failing in their statutory duties. So the 2015 net zero target, which was amended in 2019, so Theresa May did that. Our friend Theresa May, who lost 10,000 children, had to admit they'd lost 10,000 children. They didn't know where they went, just disappeared. These kids have been trafficked, like from care homes, English nationals. So the original 2008 target was at least 80% reduction in emissions by 2050. And in June 2019, Theresa May, it was amended to 100% reduction. So she's the one who said that we have to be net zero. We only contribute 1% of the global fucking carbon. China does 30%. We outsource our fucking carbon to China. So we're not doing anything, but we aren't even a fucking problem anyway. They set up an independent climate change committee, which created the CCC, which is an independent statutory body that needs to advise the government on targets, budgets, and progress. So that's shitloads of money going out the fucking door on consultants who are all fucking climate zealots. The government must, and it's a must, which means they can't do anything without this CCC saying what they do, have regard to CCC's advice when setting budgets and policies. It can deviate. It must explain why, and they must accept it as a fucking reason for why. So you couldn't just go, actually, this net zero is fucking killing our citizens. I don't think we should do this anymore, because the CCC will be like, well, saving the fucking planet, love. What's X number of ethnic nationals in this teeny tiny country when we're saving all of these other people, right? Because it's communism and socialism. You don't count. You're just one person. Your life is irrelevant. Their 5-yearly reviews and reporting. The government must publish regular reports on progress and risks, adaptation reports every 5 years. The CCC publishes annual progress reports to Parliament. These often highlight where the UK is off track. You are naughty. Naughty government, not killing the fucking population fast enough by stripping them of any viable way to eat and heat their home and use the electricity. And we forced everybody to working from home, and they can't fucking afford to put the electrics on. Kill them faster. Raise the prices because it's January. Because that's what they've just done, right? Ofgem's just raised its cap. Sectorial policy and implications. So the Act itself does not mandate specific policies such as ban petrol cars 2030, phase out gas boilers, but it creates the legal obligation that forces successive governments to produce plans that add up to the budgets. This is why we see rapid policy changes. So net zero 2021, powering up Britain 2023, and then this carbon budget delivery plan 25. So this is why we see EV mandates, boiler bans, ETS expansion, all flow from the need to stay with the legal carbon limits. Now, of course, there was no referendum or public vote. It did pass by Parliament with a huge cross-party support and even the 2019 Net Zero Amendment. So all of those fucking new reformers, they were happy with this when it happened. Legally enforceable. They can face judicial review, and they are. So the 2022 High Court ruling said the 2021 net zero strategy was unlawful because it didn't lack the relevant details. So they said we're going to do it, but they didn't say how we're going to do it. Irreversible in practice. So once a carbon budget is set into law, repealing it requires new primary legislation. It also faces massive legal or political backlash because of international treaties such like the Paris Agreement, right? Which is why Trump went, fuck that shit, and pulled out of the Paris Agreement, and then Biden pulled him back in. And this is why, because this stems from and kind of joins in with. So it covers from pretty much everything. So emissions from electricity, transport, heating, industry, agriculture, right? This is why they're getting rid of the farmers, because it's easy to get rid of the cows if you bankrupt all the farmers. And then I'm going to take over the farmland. I'm going to create these solar panels that get completely decimated in a hailstorm. It doesn't matter that the little children are dying in the other countries. Doesn't matter that it is like destroying the planet in other countries. Doesn't matter that we are making like toxic wastelands, because we in the United Kingdom have decided our sun for 2 weeks of a year is enough, right? Waste and international aviation or shipping. Almost no part of the economy is untouched when policies are rolled out to meet the budgets. So under this Carbon Act, what was it? Carbon Budget Act. Sorry, Climate Change Act. They can completely, they can meddle with every single piece of the legislative pie. So this is like a free-for-all. Literally gives them carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they want. And they just bullshit by saying it ties into net zero. I've got no idea what an aneutronic generator is. Sweet. I've never looked into it. So while Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have their own targets, they, because they're dissolved powers, they must contribute to UK-wide budgets. So it doesn't tell them how they have to do it, but it tells them they must do it. Every single government since 2008 signed onto it, right? So if Bozo was a good person, he would have removed us from it. He didn't. Farage isn't talking about reversing it. Kemi is, but she's a Nigerian. She needs to go home. And she's only just started talking about it, right? Because she now needs a talking point. Doesn't mean she's going to do it, because they don't have to do it. They can just fucking say it. And then they go, oh, well, actually, we really can't because of this and because of this and because of this. So we need to start working on getting rid of the Climate Change Act. The first thing we need to do in order to do this is pull out of the Paris Agreement. So the reason why we need to pull out of the Paris Agreement is because they use that as the backdoor means to tie us to the Climate Change Act, right? So if they try to repeal it or try to deviate, all these fucking NGOs, but you signed up to this international thing, you said you would. Doesn't matter, it's not fucking legally binding, so I can just say, fuck you, love. Which is obviously why we've got it on the statute books, right? But the first thing to do is get rid of we need to get out of the Paris Agreement. So then we need the government to repeal it. So they can repeal any fucking legislation that they want, right? That is written into our laws. They can repeal anything. So that's what we need. And it can take about 12 months, right? So from start to finish, 12 months. There is no way fake Farage is going to do that, right? Which means no matter who wins the election, we're still fucked. Because what Kemi will do is say we need to repeal the Climate Change Act, but she won't withdraw from the Paris Agreement, which will allow the NGOs to keep taking them to court. So it looks like they're doing the right thing. But then, oh no, we got another court case that says we're not allowed because of this, right? We're going to have to appeal. This. They fucking slow walk. The same, like it's been 10 years of slow walking the EU, like Brexit, right? Which did go to fucking public vote. It's easy. Like this is just how they bullshit. They say, okay, well, we'll just say we'll do that thing because we know that we're not really going to do it, but we're going to pretend we're going to do it. And then somebody's going to, one of these organizations that like takes money from public people, members of the public, these NGOs. I mean, maybe we can fund the NGO that's then going to sue us because won't that be fucking hilarious? So in order to do that, in order to repeal, you need the entire House of Commons, right? You need a fucking huge majority. And you also need the House of Lords to be on your back. So basically, what you need to do is we need to start repealing the Paris Agreement. We also need to get rid of lifetime peerage in the House of Lords, right? We need to kind of change the structure so people are elected to the House of Lords on merit for the things that they've done for the nation and their local area. Like what have they done, right? Benefit, right? We just need to fucking rip it all down. That's why I'm like on the prevent list. Okay. It just, they can do it. It is possible. We can judicial review, we can campaign, we can fucking, what we actually need is we need everybody in Europe to pull out of it. So we need to be paying attention to the kind of European parties that are talking about fucking pulling out of the Paris Agreement. And if they're not talking about that, then they're just like fakes. And even if they are talking about it, they might still be slow walking everything. But that's what we need. We need it gone. Because otherwise we're fucked. Which is really depressing, and I do apologize for that. But here's the thing. We have lots of legislation that enables us to say, hey, wait a minute. For national security, I think this Paris Agreement is really fucking dangerous, especially if we start getting fucking rolling blackouts, right? Because while we've got rolling blackouts, our infrastructure and our cyber infrastructure is at risk. Because the easiest time to hack something is when you kind of power it up, power it back up again. Um, there's loads of loads of different ways to kind of make a case that it is detrimental to the nation, and to continue with it is treasonous, aiding and abetting terrorists. I mean, there's all those things. But and then proving that we're outsourcing our carbon, we're not actually net zeroing it. Maybe we can null and void the fucking thing. But nobody fucking voted for it in the first place, right? So, but yeah, so that was a little bit. Obviously, all the NGOs, all the consulting firms, all the banks, like you would be up against the entire fucking global machine. To kind of pull out of Paris Agreement and to overturn it. Doesn't mean it's impossible, just means that we need everybody on board. Okay, really quickly, the alien card. Okay. I mean, nuclear fusion is green and good, right? That is good energy. My concern with nuclear is that they will just Chernobyl us. It's kind of easier to cyber hack it and Chernobyl us than to kind of launch a nuke. So, okay, so we've been through their plans of destruction like multiple times, right? Multiple times over the last six years now. Multiple times. And on there we have the alien card, like the alien thing. And they keep teasing it and then putting the aliens back in their boxes. But supposedly, right? Supposedly they are at that point now because of the Trump fucking shit upness. That the alien card is their last ditch attempt to unite everybody. But I mean, I don't know how we do the fucking fend off the aliens while reaching net zero. I mean, that'll be interesting. Because we can't build anything because we can't fucking afford to build anything. So how can we defend the nation? Okay, so hypothetically, if the alien card is the final move, right? Why would it be now? And why would it be the final battle move, right? So so if this were real and escalating, because I always love a grok being the evil overlord, right? Tell us the point of this and how can we spot it? This is what comes out of this stuff. So if this were real and escalating per Mondstadt's blueprint, the end game, and I kind of dropped Project Bluebeam and other bits of information in there to kind of for him to kind of like pull on first. So if you're ever using AI, so while we were kind of talking about the other stuff, like I found the carbon thing, I found the who cares wins thing, like, so I uploaded all of those things. I was like, I don't want them, you don't want them to kind of grab random bits of information from the internet. You need to give them the actual things. Like, you need to use this, not your interpretation of somebody else's random blog about this thing, right? So if this were the real and escalating per Mondstadt's blueprint, which is the Project Bluebeam, the end game is global unity under crisis, fake and existential alien threat to dismantle national sovereignty, religions, and economies, paving the way for a new world order. One government, one currency, and one religion. In 2026 context, with backlash against elites, it could be desperation play to reset control amid declining trust. There's been an uptick in US Congress UFO hearings, the Mexican alien mummies 2324, Vatican and NSA comments on extraterrestrial life, might be soft disclosure to normalize the idea, align with WEF's global's government themes, right? What to expect if this is the rollout. So Blue Beams has 4 stages progressively. So it's and correct me, we're probably in early stage 3, so we're already kind of going there. The alien prep stage. Immediate or short term. So now to the next 6 months, they're going to ramp up the evidence. So increased official disclosures, and also the UK government came out with how to protect your finances in case of an alien fucking invasion. I'm sure it was like finances or something. So that's the UK government's advice on what to do in case of an alien invasion, which I would indicate is probably them going hard at it, right? Increase official disclosures to build credibility, expect more government NGO reports, UN or WEF panels. So we keep our eyes on the UN and WEF. On extraterrestrial threats, tying to climate as sustainable development goals. So aliens as climate refugees. I mean, that would be funny, wouldn't it? I mean, because because of all the carbon that we've been using, these aliens from outer space now, they've got nowhere to be. Oh, that would be funny. That would be funny. I don't know whether I would just I don't think I'd be able to contain my chuckling if that's what happens. Media floods with leaked footage or tech demos, so holographic skies, UFO crashes. So that's what TikTok will be useful for that. Global leaders such as UN, Guterres, EU's von der Leyen, they're going to call for unity against unknown threats. So linking directly into the Davos WEF 2026 contested norms agenda. Remember, they're talking about planetary boundaries. They're not talking about nation states. It's always been nation states. Now they're talking about planetary boundaries. So there's multiple indications they're about to throw the aliens at us. Medium term, 6 to 18 months, fake invasion and chaos. Ooh. We've also got the UK government trying to conscript people, saying that if you're until, even if you're 66, 67, 68, you can be conscripted. So we're going to get fake invasion and chaos. Stage events escalates to holograph alien ships over cities using lasers or satellites. I mean, or they could just use the actual reconstructed alien ships they have. But then again, we did have a holographic Queen Elizabeth at her Jubilee that nobody questioned. Nobody questions if she's alive. Where is she? Attacks on infrastructure blamed on ETs, but engineered via cyber or EMP. So blackouts, more blackouts. Ooh, climate blackouts. They would be useful, wouldn't they? Be like, oh, the aliens did it, and it's just because we haven't got any sun. Because of their fucking spraying the skies, blocking the sun. Stock crashes, supply disruptions, and you don't have any food in the UK, you don't grow it anymore. And we've just been part of that whole fucking deal where we're going to get all of our food from South America and Brazil. I know that they're in some from places that are lawfully allowed to use toxins and pesticides that we're not allowed to use up here, right? So they're completely dismantling our own capacity to feed ourselves, which is why I've been looking at things like moringa trees and all the other perennial native and or can be grown in here, right? They're not fucking starving me out. Arseholes. Attacks on infrastructure. I've said that bit, sorry. Elites and NGOs push a global emergency for one world response. CBDs, digital IDs as security measures. So you're gonna have to have a digital ID, because how do we know whether you're human or alien because they look like us? Ooh. You're gonna have to be biometrically scanned. It's the only way we can tell. I'm afraid we can't use paper money anymore because it costs too much. Because we're busy. It's more efficient. Like, we're busy saving the world. Just we don't need that. Don't need that. Long term, 18 months, new order. So it's going to happen. It'll happen fast. So post invasion, right? So 6 to 18 months is the potential. If we're in stage 3, early stage 3, like, this is like 6 to 18 months. We're going to get all hell breaking loose. So post invasion, a savior AI figure emerges. Tied to alien sympathizers, controls Titan, surveillance state, resource rationing, total reset as per Schwab's Great Reset. So what to watch out for? So signs for it rolling out now. So sudden media synchronization, obviously, right? BBC, CNN, talking about credible UFO stories with expert endorsements from NASA, UN, NGOs. And we've already had that, right? Over 800 unidentified cases, like UAP cases, have been kind of talked about really recently, right? It's coming. Watch for leaked videos tied to WEF events. If coverage shifts from debunking to prepare for contact, that's a huge sign, right? So, and the UK government literally said, here's what you need to do in the event of an alien invasion, right? There's the most insane thing for a normie to kind of see the government talk about, right? Because for our entire lives, they've been saying that they're tinfoil hat nutters, and now they're saying, oh yeah, by the way, this is real. You need to fucking prep for it. Government NGO disclosures, so more hearings, panels, WEF panels on extraterrestrial risks. Right, we're really gonna have to start paying attention to the WEF, right? See what panels they're doing. Linking it to the climate. Yeah, they're fleeing their dying planet. So UN resolutions on global UAP response, or NGOs pushing unity with extraterrestrials. I can't. Tech miracles or anomalies, right? Holographic tests, so drone swarms, lasers mimicking UFOs. And there was the 2025 Vegas sightings, which were debunked as drones. If tied to WEF's AI agenda, expect ET communication via apps and AI. Elite calls for unity, so WEF Davos speeches, so emphasizing external threats, requiring global governance. If leaders like Starmer and Macron push one world pacts and sightings, that's a huge red flag, right? Economic control and ties, so spikes in CBD, digital ID pushes as a defense against alien hacks and disruptions. Watch for emergency measures, so rationing and surveillance blamed on ET interference. And they will do that with the grids, the energy grids, in my opinion, as well. Religious or spiritual angle. So uptick in Vatican or NGO alien theology. So 2025 Vatican comments talking about baptizing extraterrestrials. Like, I didn't know. Like, did anybody else spot that the Vatican said that they would be happy to baptize ETs? If it's real, expect escalation towards unity and control. If it's psyop, it's a distraction from the real issues such as energy crisis. Either way, stay skeptical. Most upticks are explainable, so drone tech, declassifications, etc., etc. Yeah, I'm not worried about the aliens because if they wanted us dead, they'd have just like wiped us out already. Like that would have been easy to do. But expect it to get spicy. I'm not worried about the aliens. I'm worried about what our government's going to do and pretend that the aliens are the ones who are doing it. Did you? I mean, I try not to pay attention to the Pope. So, um, yeah, it's not something I really kind of pay attention to, but maybe I should, maybe I need to. Okay. So, stopping the algorithm from rewriting your past. Okay, so did you know that 74% of Gen Z say social media influences their perception of reality? But what if your favorite feed isn't just showing you what you like, but subtly changing what you remember? So imagine looking back at your own life only to realize the version you recall has been edited, not by you, but by an algorithm, and your past might be less yours than you think. Okay, so here's some examples of oh, I've lost my notes. Darn it. 2 secs. Let me just scroll. UFS. Generators. I haven't looked through it. Okay, so imagine that you're scrolling through your feed late at night and you see an old photo of you and your mates from 5 years ago. You smile, you like it, you comment, something nostalgic, and then the algorithm starts feeding you more of that version of the night. Slightly different angles and slightly different captions, slightly different people tagged over weeks and months. That's the version that keeps popping up. Pretty soon, when somebody says you remember that night, the first thing that comes to mind isn't what actually happened. It's the polished algorithm approved highlight reel that you've been served 100 times. So, this is what's known as the filter bubble. And it doesn't show you necessarily the things that are true or necessarily the things that you agree with, just the things that you've interacted with. And it's quietly rewriting your own history of your experiences. So the way that so when I talk about because they kind of link this to false memory, and so we just have to kind of separate that, right? So false memory is untrue. In order for somebody to implant a false memory, okay, you have to go to the extreme, right? The only way that Dr. Cameron, Ewan Cameron in Canada, was able to, kind of Clockwork Orange style, was able to implant false memories into his 200 patients was by doing severe sensory deprivation. He kept people awake non-stop. He played like every time they were going to sleep, he woke them up. He was pumping them full of multiple different cocktails of drugs. He was hypnotizing them. And it took months in isolation away from anybody else. They were being electrocuted, they were being tortured, they were being drugged, and that was the only way he could then start implanting false memories. So there's no way you can rock up to a therapist's office and have like and even if it's just a hypnotherapy session, and then come out believing something random. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have a narrative built around a potential real thing, and you can incorporate things that your brain likes to fill stuff in. So, say for example, you could legitimately remember going into a room with an adult and something really horrible happening. Right? You can't remember what the really horrible thing is, but something really horrible happened. And every time you see that person or think about that person, you have like PTSD, right? And so when you're looking at the really horrible things, obviously the thing you're going to think about is potentially you've been abused, right? You're like, you walked into a room with this person I know, and then it was so traumatic, like I can't even remember what happened. Right? What we usually dissociate in extreme trauma. So then you start filling in the blanks, like your brain will start filling in the blanks. So you can't have necessarily a memory implanted, but you can fill in the blanks and come up with your own narrative of what makes sense. Right? Maybe, right? This is how crazy it can be. Maybe you were wearing a vest top, but you have a real memory of you looking down and seeing a naked arm, right? So you're like, okay, well, I must have been naked because I remember seeing my arm. I remember like grabbing the door handle and it just being a naked arm, right? So a real legit thing, traumatic event could have happened, and you have these teeny tiny little snippets, but then you live in the real world and you hear horrible stories, and if you've been down the rabbit holes and you know these horrible things happen, all of a sudden your brain starts shaping this narrative, right? So not only is your brain now shaping this narrative, the AI and the algorithm, if you start investigating it and what you're typing in, it's going to start creating a narrative with you and for you, right? So if you're looking at, you know, whatever you're looking at, you're going to be typing it in. You're going to be searching for it. You're going to be watching YouTube videos. Maybe you're going to watch videos from survivors. Maybe you're subscribing to survivors on X, and then you're going to see the stories more. You're going to and it just ends up kind of snowballing, and you're not doing it on purpose. This is why eyewitness testimony is really unhelpful. And it's not because people are like lying, it's because we actually can't always trust our own brains, right? And this is why our brains are also so fabulous, which is why you can, you can imagine yourself doing something over and over and over again, and it enables you to then do the thing in real life, right? Which, say, for example, if you're scared of, you get stage fright, you can play over and over and over in your mind, like standing on the stage, giving a speech and it being okay, standing on stage, giving a speech and being okay, standing on stage, giving a speech, being okay. And then you go and do the real thing. And because you have wired your brain enough, you then don't have stage fright anymore, right? So your brain can't tell the difference between fake and real. It's completely reality lines blurred. So then what actually happens is maybe you find a video, right? You find a video of what happened that day. And despite being very concerned that it's really horrific, because, they say curiosity killed the cat, is we all want to know, right? We want closure. We want to know. And then you go and watch the video and you find out what actually happened was a spider fell down, and the adults in the room screamed because they were the adults. That then imprints on you. This is how like phobias are passed down. I mean, it's more powerful from mum to child, but that's because mum's traditionally the caregiver, for that 12 months, the full bond with the oxytocin loop with regards to breastfeeding. So there's a whole reasoning behind that phobias are passed down. It's not hereditary, it's not genetic. It's because if it's a spider phobia, chances are the child is in the room when the mum freaks out and is so terrified and energetically horrified by this thing. The child learns this thing is terrifying. You literally imprint on that child's nervous system, biology, DNA, memory banks, all of those things, that this thing is so terrifying. You must not be in a room with it, right? Look at how your safety adult has behaved. This is now where we are, right? So then you kind of watch this video and you find out, oh, this is where my spider phobia came from. But now your entire newsfeed has is all of this survivor stuff. And what if you've gone so far that you started telling people, I think I think that happened to me. What if you've been having conversations with AI? So you're not even just videoing, you're talking to the AI. Saying, "Oh my god, I remember this thing, and oh my god, it was so horrific. I couldn't ever near be that person." And the AI starts telling you about dissociation. You go, "Oh my god, I totally had that thing. Like I can't remember anything. Maybe my brain's blocked it out." So now you've built this narrative and you've told other people about this narrative. You will probably reject that video as truth, right? In the same way, the insane liberal lefties reject the narrative that, you know, Trump is actually doing some good stuff, or reject the narrative that the climate changes because that's what the climate does, but it's not a crisis. It's not something we need to be concerned about because it's only gone up by like a teeny tiny percent in like a very long time. So it's not human made, right? Because if it was human made, it would have fucking shot up during the Industrial Revolution. It would be flying up with all the shit that China's doing right now, right? 30% of the carbon population. So you'll reject it. I'd be like, that can't be the day. That can't be the day. My thing must be true, right? Because we then end up in this place of cognitive dissonance. If we've integrated this new narrative into our identity, right? And this is why people need to get rid of the labels. Like I was listening to this guy earlier today who is an ex-policeman, and he was working on he did counterterrorism. He did over 1,000 pedophile cases, right? And this is one of the things that I always mention. Nobody talks about the actual people who are having to fucking look and categorize and examine that fucking data, right? So he was saying he's probably seen 100,000 minimum images of some of the worst things that you can even imagine. And, you know, he's saying things that you can't even imagine. And I would argue that we probably can imagine because we've probably accidentally seen that shit. You know, the actual F word, the F drip, right? Some of us were unlucky enough to be down the fucking rabbit holes when that shit wasn't even like just hidden on freaking dark web. It was on actual web and available for people to watch because they thought she couldn't lose, and they were just kind of fucking spreading that shit around. So some of us have seen very horrific things, right? And can comprehend. And, you know, some of us have worked with people who have told them stuff, right? Okay. So I would argue some of us are very aware of the sick, twisted, horrific things. If you've ever kind of watched any SRA survivor stuff, you're gonna know. If you ever watched the Imagination podcast with Emma, which I do recommend, it was like actual. So I mean, sometimes some of the survivors aren't. She's been hoodwinked by a few that I've seen. But again, maybe they don't know, right? So, but anyway, I forgot what I was saying now. So you've built it into your identity, right? So this guy, this policeman, so he obviously developed PTSD, right? Obviously, I mean, he became an alcoholic, so that's indications of depression. Blocking out the images, needing to shut down. He needed to suppress the images so he could be around his family. So he became an alcoholic, and he did great things to overcome all of that stuff. But and he mentioned he did lots of therapy, years of therapy, and that's why therapy doesn't work, because it shouldn't take years, because it doesn't take years, right? It doesn't take years to heal. You just got to be using the right tools in the right order, right? And my DID fucking elite bloodline clients didn't take years to heal. So he was looking at images. They were on the receiving end of those fucking images. And I was on the receiving end of probably like a few, not. So it didn't take me fucking decades once I started doing it. Right. Anyway. But the whole conversation, he kept saying, my PTSD, my PTSD, my PTSD. Right. He's not got rid of it. And he won't get rid of it while he's turned it into his identity. Right? Because it's who he is. He is this person who did this thing, and he's also this person with PTSD. So not only do we have intermittent memories where we are creating a narrative, good or bad, right? Not always, we're not necessarily doing it on purpose. It's not about people creating this narrative so that they get people to feel sorry for them. It's just the way that our brains try to comprehend and understand why we are the way we are. Everybody loves a test, which is why I've got my happiness archetypes test, right? Because I know it's a great lead magnet, because everybody wants to know, well, why am I so fucked up? And I'm like, hey, here's why you're so fucked up, and here's how you fix it, right? Here's your 30-day plan. Let's go. Here's the instructional videos that fix you in 30 days, depending on like what's going on, right? But so everybody's obsessed with, why am I so broken? Why does this bad thing happen? And so your brain will kind of put stuff together. Then you're going to start searching for stuff. Now you're going to start speaking to an AI, and then it's going to become you. And even in the face of all the evidence to the contrary, many people will not be able to kind of let it go. And so the way that, because I was like, wait a minute, where are we going here? Now we need to learn how to stop the algorithm from rewriting your past, because your brain's already fucking doing it to you. Okay. It's already doing it. I do tend to be like, I don't believe you. I don't first become a fucking skeptic. So, and I know I've kind of mentioned, as I've been kind of evolving and finding shit out about my childhood, I have never hunted. So here's your first thing, is don't look for answers. The answers will come. Because if you start looking for answers, you start filling in your own narrative. Like, I knew I had a hearing test multiple times, right? That was the actual memory of me being in the room, like being taken out of the classroom, me being in the assembly hall with the woman sat to my right, because I can't do my left and right. So is that this side, sat to my right, with me having the hearing test, and this was this brown box thing. So I didn't know what that was. I wouldn't have even known where to start. And I was watching a podcast, and an image came on the screen, and I was like, that's that fucking box. And then I found out what the box was, and I was like, now it makes sense, right? That's different. So don't go hunting for like Don't go hunting, like, why do I have this phobia, right? If it's just a phobia, well, why do I have this phobia, right? And then you're like digging, because you'll end up trapped. So step number one, I mean, you can put it out there, like, why do I have this phobia? Like, where did it come from, right? Guarantee you social media will give you the answer, right? When I kind of put out there that I wanted to kind of uncover how my brain got all fucked up, I was ready to figure that shit out. Because before that point, I believed it was just kind of natural genetics, right? It's just something happens and your brain goes haywire. And then I found out that's not the case. Something has to happen in order for your brain to kind of go fucked up, right? Could be vaccines, could be other stuff, right? And for me, I was like, okay, well, I looked into, okay, well, it could be a vaccine. Okay, well, when does it typically kind of show up? If it was going to show up, this is why they can identify it in really young children. Mine definitely wasn't a vaccine, because I have another memory, my dad saying repeatedly through my childhood, you used to be able to do long division in your head, now you can't fucking even add up, right? Which again is concrete proof it wasn't a vaccine, because if it was a vaccine, I wouldn't have been able to do it from before learning, right? In the developmental stage. Anyway, so if you've got your real memories, just put it out there. When I just put it out there, I randomly came across this guy who was randomly talking about this thing, and he randomly had a picture of this thing, and that gave me more information. Right? So the way that you stop the algorithm hijacking your reality is you stop interacting with the algorithm on things that you really need to understand. And I know that's kind of crazy when we're talking about going down rabbit holes, right? So I don't do specifics when I'm kind of like going, I need to figure this shit out, right? How do we stop this crazy government? And then I watch something that I found on YouTube that somebody's probably shared with me, and then I see what gets shown to me, right? I built my business using Twitter and Facebook in the exact same way, right? I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't understand this content creation shit. I went to bed, I woke up in the morning, I went on Facebook, and here's somebody giving a free talk on content creation, right? Because everything's energy, everything's interlinked. If you put what you need out there, and you can understand your past, you can understand the future, you can understand what's useful, you can understand all of these things. You can allow the universe to bring it to you, but just don't go actively digging. It also takes a really long time if you are starting from your limited knowledge and understanding, rather than allowing everybody else's knowledge and understanding to come to you. So I had no idea who Desiree Flexer was. And I can't remember what I watched. I think I watched another one of those free food things. And then she just randomly, because I've watched some Marshall, can't remember his full name, Marshall somebody's shows. She just popped up and I was like, oh, I'll see what that is. And then she mentioned something I'd never heard of before. The Who Cares document. And I was like, huh, what's this? Oh, this is the precursor to the Sustainable Development Goals. This is interesting, because I've never heard anybody else talk about that ever in 5 years, because I didn't know where to start and I didn't know where to hunt, right? So how to stop the algorithm hacking your reality, stop interacting with the fucking algorithm in the way that you think you should, right? So don't go chasing. Just allow what you need. Just randomly put it out there in the universe. Just say it. Like, genuinely just fucking say it. And then wait, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, jump on whichever social media you like. I guarantee you'll have that answer. And it will lead you to places that will enable you to start asking more useful questions. That is my advice. So, on that little bombshell, have yourselves an amazing rest of your week. Hopefully we'll look at the whatever that plan is he's doing, his peace plan next week. We'll see. Board of Peace. There we go. We'll see. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.